This episode is brought to you by the National World War II Museum here in New Orleans. During World War II, Japanese American soldiers serving under the motto, "Go for Broke," courageously advanced Allied efforts despite facing discrimination at home. The National World War II Museum's new special exhibit, The Go for Broke Spirit, Legacy and Portraits, explores the service and sacrifice of these Japanese American veterans through powerful portraits, personal artifacts, and first-hand accounts. Discover the legacy of patriotism and resilience embodied by these men and women. Plan your visit today at nationalworldwar2museum.org. Louisiana residents get half off a museum admission and Expressions of America tickets during the month of July. See website for details. Hello, I'm Doug, and welcome to the Krewe of Japan Podcast, a weekly podcast where we take you on audio journeys through Japanese culture.
This time on Krewe of Japan Podcast.
Welcome back to our podcast. Language learners rejoice. It's that time again to talk about Japanese language study. With each episode, we focus on a variety of approaches or media used in language study. Well, today we're going to continue down that same path, but with a new focus on dialects. Specifically, the dialect of the region known as Kansai, or Kinki. That's K-I-N-K-I. Get your minds out the gutter. Today, the crew is joined by Tyson, a Japanese tutor and the creator of the Nihongo Hongo Instagram account and YouTube channel. Tyson is a native of Kansai, and through his social media content has helped language learners explore Japanese language study and the Kansai dialect through fun and engaging and entertaining ways. During this episode, we chat about language study in general before diving a little deeper into how dialects make spoken language so much fun, the difference between the Kansai dialect and the standard dialect of Japanese, as well as pick up a few grammar points and phrases along the way. So get your notebook or your notes app ready. It's going to be a good lesson with Tyson Sensei. Let's jump into the interview.
All right, we are back with the Krewe of Japan. I have Doug here, and
Hey.
Doug and we always love to have Japanese language episodes. We had one earlier this season, but you know what? We just couldn't get enough. There's so much to talk about with the Japanese language, especially for those language learners. So today we have a guest with us. He is a Japanese tutor. You can find him on Instagram as Nihongo Hongo JP. He teaches a lot of Japanese language, but specifically about the Kansai dialect, which I am very interested in as a person that always stations themselves in the Kansai area of Japan when I travel. So thank you so much, Tyson, for being here. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yes. I know I said a little bit, but could you just give a simple introduction for yourself? What part of Japan are you from? You know, what made you want to be a Japanese tutor? And, how long have you been teaching Japanese?
Okay, I got it. So my name is Tyson, but actually it's not my actual name, I introduce myself Tyson to my students because my Japanese name is not easy for English learners to pronounce. So I always say Tyson. Hi. I was born in Osaka, but not the main city of the Osaka. So I was born in south part of Osaka, which is near Kansai Airport. I think the third biggest airport in Japan. Yeah, and then I have been teaching Japanese online for about 3 years, off and on, actually. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, at first it was my part-time job, but at the moment, teaching Japanese is my only thing I do for a living.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay. So you made that your career now.
Yes.
Thank
you so much.
So you must really love it to make it a career.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, before we go too much further into studying Japanese and language study topics, we ask one question to all of our guests, and that is if they have a connection to New Orleans, whether they've been to New Orleans before, or if they haven't gone, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the words New Orleans?
Okay, actually, I have never been to the state as well,
Okay.
So, obviously, I've never been to New Orleans as well. But when I hear New Orleans, the first thing came up with is like jazz music, I think the place is famous for jazz.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, no, it seems like a lot of Japanese people know New Orleans for jazz.
Yes. And then I like jazz as well. Yes.
Okay.
I know Louis Armstrong is from New Orleans. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
Yes. So I've never been there though. I want to go there. One day I want to go to the States and then I want to include New Orleans to my destination.
Okay. Well, whenever you do, reach out to us and let us know.
Yes. We'll be happy to show you around.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That'll be great.
He's like, yes.
Yeah.
You have local tour guides right here.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. I saw photos of like city around New Orleans and that looks really cool. It's different from other place in the state.
Yes,
Yeah.
very.
Everything, it's just very different from other areas of the country.
Yes. I will be there.
Okay, we're waiting for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, now I'm interested in knowing, how did you learn English? Was it strictly learning from school, or like did you do some kind of self-study? Because your English is very good.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm so glad to know that. Hi. So in Japan, we start learning English from junior high school, since from 12 years old. But at that time, I was not really into English. I mean, like generally studying. So I didn't study English at all at the time. But when I was 22 years old, I suddenly got interested into English. So I went to Cebu City in the Philippines.
Ah, okay.
There are a lot of English school for Japanese people in Cebu City because they teach English really cheap in affordable price.
Okay.
So I went there for 9 months. And during the 9 months, I studied 5 days per week, 8 hours a day, which was quite intense for me.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. Every day, without working, just study. And then after 9 months, I got quite confident about my English because I could talk to teacher. And then I also got good score in exam. Yeah, so I was really confident. So I flew into Australia for working holiday,
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, and then as soon as I got Australia, I realized that my English was not enough at all because I couldn't understand the native speakers at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, they speak quite fast. So
Yeah.
I really wanted to go home, go back to Japan. But of course I had no money to do so. So I stayed there and then I got a job and then I worked with Australian guys for 2 years. So I think that's the reason why I improved my English.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It sounds so familiar because I studied Japanese in college. I started when I was about 18 years old. And I studied for 2 years and I did really well in class. And I thought I was really confident, kind of similar to you. I was like, oh yeah, I feel great. I feel great after 2 years of studying, and then I got off the plane for my third year university. I studied abroad, and then I got off the plane and I was just lost. I was like, I know nothing. Yeah. People have probably heard this story a bunch of times, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's different, right? How native speakers actually speak.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you really used immersion to learn English.
That's right. I think that's the best way to learn new language,
It is.
Yes,
it is.
That's why I'm living in Taiwan now, to learn Chinese.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Well, that kind of brings us to our next question. We were going to ask, do you plan to learn any other languages? But it sounds like you are looking to learn Chinese.
Yeah.
While you're in Taiwan, are you taking classes or are you just kind of going and hanging out? What is your approach? What have you learned from the past that's kind of changed how you're approaching your language study for Chinese?
Yeah. So I came here to study Chinese. I go to school 5 times a week.
Okay.
Every day. Yeah, I study 3 hours every day. You
Okay.
know, I came here because, now I know I have to talk to native people to quickly improve my Chinese skill,
Yeah.
So I just came here. I'm a complete beginner, but I'm trying to know how to learn new language efficiently.
Okay.
So that's I can teach my students not only Japanese language, but also how to learn a new language efficiently.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm looking.
It's kind of not just Japanese specific, but something you can use like globally, like for any language.
Globally,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Hi.
Nice.
Awesome.
Hi, thank you.
Well, we noticed on your social media that you do recommend the Genki textbooks for like beginners of learning Japanese language. So why do you feel the Genki textbooks are a perfect learning material for beginners? And like, do you recommend any other forms of studying besides textbooks?
Oh, yes. Firstly, why I recommend Genki is, Genki is written by native Japanese.
Okay.
Yeah. Good thing about textbook written by natives is, the information is accurate, really accurate. Yeah. There are a lot of textbooks written by non-natives, but somehow tend to have wrong information sometimes.
Okay.
So I realized that, and then so I just decided to use Genki. And then also the good thing about the Genki is you can learn anything. Okay, like I'm not hired from Genki. Anyway.
You're good. I've used Genki, so you're fine. I understand.
Oh, really? Okay, yes.
I used Nakama, I think was the name of the textbook that I used.
Oh, Nakama, okay.
Yeah,
Actually, I've never heard of it.
Yeah,
I'll look up
but I hear Genki is much more popular. It's I think Genki's used a lot in universities here.
It is. It is.
Oh, in America as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I was about to tell you that Genki is used in a lot of universities in Australia and New Zealand.
Really?
As well.
Oh, okay.
Yes. You can learn anything, like from hiragana, katakana, and numbers, kanji as well, and of course grammar. And you can do reading, writings as well, which is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just one.
So, are you planning, do you recommend any other forms of study besides textbooks?
Yes, besides textbook, I think listening is quite important to be able to speak the new language. Because if you can't listen to what people are saying, you'll get panic. Yeah, you are not going to be able to speak confidently at all. Yeah. So listening is important. So that I suggest my students to do listening as well. Like any resource using anime, like drama, like YouTubers, it's okay. Anything is okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Does Genki come with like listening material with it? I know sometimes back when I was in school, Nakama had a companion cassette tape. That's how old it is. They had a cassette tape that came with the book that you would go to like a lab in the school and like listen and do your homework. But I want to say some other textbooks come with like CDs that you can listen to.
Yeah,
maybe
does.
Now. Oh, Genki does?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Genki used to have CD. Maybe.
Yeah,
okay.
Genki has a textbook and a workbook, and the workbook has the CD.
Okay.
Yeah.
But actually,
got it.
Now, if you have like app for Genki, you can download the listening material of Genki. Actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's modernized now that you can just download. You don't have to actually find a CD player or a tape recorder.
Yeah, no.
Exactly, yeah. You just
player.
have to use your iPhone or something, Android. Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. That's one thing. Listening, like you just said, is a huge part of it. If you're not used to it, if you're a book learner and you're focusing on the book, you think you're confident, you're good, and then you get to the country you're going to, and then you just deer in the headlights, panic, freeze up, because it's coming super fast. You're not used to it.
Yeah.
That's just listening in general. But then there's a part of it with dialects. Yeah, there's the main dialect.
Hyojungo, standard dialect.
Hyojungo, there's the main one. But then different regions have different ways they change the language a little bit. And it's not different from English. English has different ways of saying things in England versus Australia versus the United States. So it's no different there. What are some of the most common dialects of Japanese that travelers may encounter when traveling Japan? You know where we're getting at with this, but what are some of the most famous ones? Obviously, Kansai is the one we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
There's Kansai, but then there's other ones out there. Which ones do you think are the most well-known?
Well known, yeah. I think it's standard dialect and also Kansai. I think Okinawa dialect as well. It's completely different from like normal Japanese language.
Yeah.
Also like Tsugaru dialect. Have you ever heard of it?
In Aomori?
Yeah, in Aomori, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't understand them at all.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. So, it really depends on where you are going.
Okay.
What kind of dialect you encounter. If you go to Tokyo, most of people speak Kanto dialect, aka, Hyojungo.
Yeah.
And if you go to Kansai, around Osaka, we speak Kansai. So, it really depends on you. It depends on where you are going.
Yeah, I feel like for the most part, like people, if you know Hyojungo, you're good. But it's just, again, you may talk to some people that if you're going to Kansai and you're not familiar with it, you may run into, why are they saying this doesn't make sense? I've never heard this way of what does this mean?
That's right. But I think most of the time, if you know, if you have solid foundation of standard dialect, you'll be alright.
Yeah.
Because all the part of Japanese understand standard dialect. So maybe they will adjust for you.
Yeah.
I know the Kansai dialect is associated with Osaka and that it's mostly concentrated in Osaka, but it is used throughout the Kansai area. Can you tell us what prefectures are included in the Kansai region? And, does it vary from prefecture to prefecture?
So, Kansai dialect is spoken in Kansai area. We call it Kinki area, actually. And then Kinki area includes Osaka, Kyoto, Nara, Wakayama, Shiga, Hyogo, and maybe Mie.
Okay.
Maybe Mie. Yeah, because it depends on how you think. And then we speak Kansai, but as you said, we also have slightly different dialect. Even my city and the city next to mine has different dialects sometimes, just a little.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for example, Tokyo people say どうして means why. どうして But in Kansai, we differently say なんで Okay, but the city next to mine, they say なんでで They say で twice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm always like なんで
Why?
なんで
なんで why?
なんで Yes. So it's quite interesting. We always talk about that small difference.
Yeah.
We like that.
So what are some of the differences between Kansai dialect and the standard Hyojungo? What are some things that if someone is listening to someone in Kansai or maybe Osaka speak Japanese, what are some differences they'll notice that are different from let's say someone in Tokyo? What are some key distinguishing traits of Kansai dialect?
Okay. So, there are a lot of differences between Kansai dialect and standard Japanese. But I think the biggest difference is intonation. They say about 90% of our intonation is different.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And for example, in Tokyo, people say ありがとうございました something like this. But in Kansai, we say ありがとうございました
The emphasis is in a different spot.
Yes,
okay.
Different. Yeah.
Oh
Another
man,
example,
that's so complicated.
Exactly. Yeah. But also they say 今日 but in Kansai we say 今日 it's different. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not that problem.
Yeah. It's the same word, it's just said differently.
Yeah. And I think the hardest part is grammar.
Okay.
For example, when it comes to negative verbs, when you say something negative, I don't eat. In Tokyo, they say 食べない But in Kansai, we say 食べへん or 食べやん So ending tag is different. Yeah. And also, in Tokyo, basically, people say いい good. But in Kansai, we say え
Okay.
Yeah. So that's also difference. And, talking about McDonald's. Do you know McDonald's?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So McDonald's, yeah? So Tokyo people say Mac. But if you say Mac in Osaka, you're gonna have trouble with local people. I'm kidding. But in Kansai, we say Makudo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Makudo.
That's right. Okay.
always, when someone says Maku in my town, we always say it should be Makudo, okay? I have to teach them,
Well, then that's how you know that they're not from there.
Yeah,
you're like,
right.
You're a visitor.
Yes.
You're an outsider.
Yeah, outside, yeah. So when you come to Kansai, be Kansai people. We always tell them.
Noted.
Makudo.
Noted.
Noted.
Yes. So, would you recommend people learn the Kansai dialect while learning standard Japanese? Or do you suggest that's something that they should do after they have a solid understanding of the Japanese language?
Even I love Kansai dialect, I still suggest you to start learning from standard one because it's most known version of a Japanese. Once you get solid foundation of the Japanese, like standard Japanese language, I think shifting to Kansai dialect is not that hard actually. You can still understand each other, and then maybe you can slowly adapt Kansai dialect to yourself. So I always suggest people to start from like standard one. And then it's also difficult to find good textbook for Kansai dialect, especially for beginners.
Yeah.
Does that exist?
I mean, I don't think it exists for beginners,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have one, but for native Japanese.
Oh, okay.
So when you moved from the Philippines to Australia and were learning English, how big of a shock was it going to Australia and hearing the different dialect and the terminology and the grammar because Australia, they use a lot of different words. So words in America that we say mean something completely different in Australia. So, that kind of thing. Did you have any kind of situations where you ran into that?
Oh, yeah.
I learned this in the book this way, but it's completely different from how it's used in Australia?
Yeah, every day.
Every day.
Yeah, every day. It's just like learning a new language, but
yeah.
I was like, I don't understand them, but I could adjust quickly because I had a foundation of normal language, normal English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but without that solid foundation of like standard English, I could give up to stay in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, as long as you have a foundation, I think you'll be alright.
Okay. Yeah, and I would agree. I think that having that foundation is good because if you have it, you can go there and you may not understand fully what they're saying, but you can piece it together and eventually kind of figure it out and build on top of what you already know.
Yeah. And they teach you because people are kind, basically,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when they say something like Barbie, I asked you, what's Barbie means? They say like, oh, it's barbecue.
Yeah. And we could have it's not really a podcast for us, but we could talk all about Australian slang. I love it. I have a bunch of Australian friends, and I just think it's so amusing, and some of the terms that they use and stuff, it's just phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah, I like it too. Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to the Kansai dialect, though, do you feel that native speakers in Japan, do they struggle with Kansai dialect, like understanding it? Do you think that if, let's say, someone from Kansai travels to, I don't know, Nagano, but Nagano people don't hear Kansai Ben every day. Now, granted, I feel like you get a lot of exposure through TV and media and stuff, but do you feel that sometimes even native speakers struggle with understanding Kansai dialect?
When it comes to Kansai dialect, I have no problem with like communicating people from other place, even if I speak Kansai dialect. But I try to kind of soften my Kansai dialect.
Okay.
I speak softly. It's not because they don't understand the Kansai dialect, but Kansai dialect for other people, like for people from other places, maybe sounds harsh. We sound strong if we speak fully in Kansai dialect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I try to speak like softer, like nicer.
Do you find yourself sometimes switching from like using like hen or yan to like nai? Like, do you switch over to like, is it something like you find yourself naturally doing, or do people even do that, or they still use, even though they're going wherever, they still use hen or yan or whatever?
Yeah, we still use it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we can still use it. Hen, yan. Yeah, no problem. They do understand, as you mentioned earlier, like they are exposed to like Kansai TV as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's no problem. But we have to be nicer. Nicer than when I talk to Kansai people. Yeah.
Jen, I think even down here in this, like in the South, we have the Southern drawl. But I don't really have much of an accent. You don't have much of an accent.
No.
But it just depends. Like you were saying earlier, go from town to town. It could change completely if you go 45 minutes west of New Orleans, into Baton Rouge or Morgan City or Houma. You start to hit the accent a good bit. But yeah, I feel like sometimes I found people try to change their accent a little bit when they go elsewhere because it makes it easier.
Yeah,
have you noticed that before, Jen?
Yeah, I've kind of noticed. And like, even though like you said, like Doug, that we don't have an accent or like we don't sound like we have an accent, but for some reason people have told me I have a Southern accent.
It's on certain words.
Yeah, it is on certain words. I get it from my grandmother, sadly. But yeah, so I think it's because we're like in like the suburban city.
Yeah.
And if you were to go out into more of like the countryside, you get a thicker Southern accent.
Yes.
I feel like that's kind of like in Japan as well. Like in the city, it's not as thick as maybe like in the more rural areas.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah, exactly. But I like the difference, like small differences, like between.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun to know.
It gives it character, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Personality.
Yes.
So do you find knowing or understanding Kansai dialect, like for a language learner, do you feel like knowing that, is it useful? Like as someone that maybe if they just studied Hyojungo and then traveled to Japan, is it more useful to understand and be able to use Kansai dialect when traveling around the country?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's gonna be useful. But it's not essential, but it's gonna be useful. And then I think Kansai people will be really happy when they hear you speak Kansai dialect,
Yeah.
Oh, know Kansai dialect. Maybe you can make a lot of friends there. Because, basically they say like Kansai people is more friendly than people in like Kanto, Tokyo. Yeah. And I feel it too as well.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
Because I ran a program in Kyoto, and I would always tell my students, if you want to surprise a Kyoto citizen in the store or wherever, say "okini" as thank you, and they'll be like eyes lit up, and they are like the old like man clerk. He sees it, he's like, oh, and he's amazed, and it's great. And I'm like, yay, you did it.
I'll be happy too. If I hear okini.
You would be happy too.
Yeah. And then I think I'm gonna try to get close to them.
Oh, good.
Nice. Well, what do you find to be the most difficult part about learning the Kansai dialect? And like, do most people have difficulty learning it?
I think mimicking Kansai intonation is kind of difficult. Yeah, because it's even difficult for people from Tokyo as well.
Really?
Yeah, like
I can see that.
Like, yeah, how hard they try to mimic us, they can't, and vice versa. I can't mimic what they say. Yeah. So intonation is like difficult part, but I don't think it matters. Even if you speak different intonation, it's okay. But instead, I recommend people to focus more on grammatical difference and words. Sometimes, like as I said, like maku and makudo.
Would you say that it's difficult to learn the Kansai dialect because there aren't a lot of materials that are readily available? Like if someone said, "Oh, I want to study Kansai dialect," they can't find a textbook. I mean, maybe the good thing about living in an online world now is that there are a lot of like YouTube videos or blogs or Instagram tutors that can help teach. But, if they wanted to go to a textbook, there isn't really a lot of resources. So do you think that's part of it? It makes it a little difficult to learn?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So as I said, there is book for Kansai dialect, but it's written for native Japanese speakers.
Right.
So you really have to have really solid foundation of Japanese first. Difficult part, but I think it's really difficult to find good materials.
Yeah.
But so I think it's like easier to find like tutor who speak Kansai dialect.
Yeah. And just learn
and
that way.
And them to teach. Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Okay. I think another hard part too, when it comes to dialects and slang and everything, is sounding natural. Not trying to force using like something in a situation when maybe it's not supposed to be used. I feel like that's something you just learn through conversation and exposure, and not really in like a textbook,
Yeah, not textbook. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even when you learn standard Japanese, maybe you will see particles, right? Particles. Yeah. For example, 私は Tyson です。This wa is particle. It indicates a subject in this sentence. And then we don't use it. Native speakers don't use it at all.
When in doubt, drop it.
Yeah, we just joke it. Yeah.
Just don't say the particle. Just that's how I get by.
Yeah. So if you really wanna be like natural, the best way is talking to Japanese people and like steal some.
Like copycat.
Oh yeah, just copy
imitate.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So what is your favorite phrase or favorite word of Kansai Ben?
Kansai Ben. My favorite phrase of Kansai Ben, I always tell my students, hona, which means, じゃあね, means like see you.
Oh, okay.
So hona, yeah.
Hona.
Yeah.
All right.
H-O-N-A, hona.
Oh, I've never heard that before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We do use a lot.
Okay.
Oh, I have to use that next time I'm in Kyoto.
Exactly. Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Hona, and it's cool, right? It's short. You can remember just one day.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah, and for me, you already got it.
Yeah, I got it. I put it in there. Put it in the brain bank.
Yeah, and then hona sounds more friendly for me. Hona.
Yeah,
that's why I like it. Yeah, even though it's casual, it's really casual, but I still like it. Yeah, it's okay.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Or should we say
I really
okini?
appreciate it. Yeah, okini.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Thank you for coming on. We really do appreciate you talking about Kansai Ben with us today. I think I love it. I even the little that I do know, I love it. I think it's very quirky, and I love using it when I'm over in the Kansai area. But before we wrap up, can you tell our listeners where they can find you on social media and stuff? Can you share your tags and your channel and everything?
Thank you. Maybe you can find on Instagram, as you said, Nihongo Hongo JP. Yeah, I think I'm most active on Instagram all the time.
Instagram?
Yeah.
And what can they expect from you in the future regarding, your content on Instagram? Do you have any big plans?
Yeah, I always like to teach Kansai dialect, of course. Kansai dialect. I always want my followers to enjoy learning Japanese. So I always try to make funny contents. I speak like anime. Maybe you've seen it as well.
Yeah.
So maybe you can enjoy my contents on Instagram. And I also started YouTube as well recently.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I'm not really good at it. But yeah,
it takes time.
Yeah, it does.
We're trying to build our YouTube too, and it's hard.
It's difficult.
It's difficult. Yeah. So yeah, so far, maybe you can enjoy my Instagram. But eventually, maybe,
Is YouTube on the same name, Nihongo Hongo?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, Nihongo Hongo JP. You can find it.
Okay. Awesome.
All right.
We'll make sure we put those in the show notes too. That way the links will be there for people.
Oh, okini. ありがとうございます。Thank you.
ありがとうございます。
ありがとう。はい、ありがとうございます。
Yes, well, thank you for coming on. We really enjoyed our conversation with you. It was so beneficial. And like I said in the beginning, we really love the Japanese language. So thank you for coming on and taking your time to talk with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much too.
And good luck with your Chinese study.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I'll do my best. Yeah, and this is not only for me. This is also for my students as well. So I'll do my best.
There you go. There you go.
Do your best.
Yes.
All right. はい、じゃあ、ほな。
ほな。
ほな。
バイバイ。
And that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Krewe of Japan Podcast, Ookini. And also a big ookini to Tyson of Nihongo Hongo for joining us to talk about language study and exploring the Kansai dialect. Tyson provided some wonderful insight into the Kansai dialect and studying Japanese as a whole. Throughout this fun discussion, it was cool to reflect on how dialects really do add another level of intrigue to learning a foreign language. Or hell, even your own native language that is shared with another country. I know we have some Australian listeners out there. Hit me up if you want to start a Krewe of Australian slang podcast. As long as I don't have to edit, I'm in. Anyway, enough of my digression. If you're interested in finding more out about Tyson and his content, just search Nihongo Hongo on Instagram or YouTube, or just check the show notes. We'll have everything linked out there. And also, before we wrap up, a special congratulations to Tyson for recently hitting 100,000 followers on Instagram. Congrats, man. Have you studied the Kansai dialect? What are some of your favorite words or phrases? Share with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Yeah, it'll always be Twitter to me. TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, maybe Threads soon, at Krewe of Japan Podcast. That's KREWEOFJAPAN PODCAST. While you're there, give us a follow, a like, or retweet, share, comment, retweet. Hey, I said that already. Skeet, reskeet, repost, whatever else you do on any of these social media things, I'm losing track. Just let us know how you're enjoying the podcast. Or perhaps you prefer to provide your feedback in a more private setting. Send us an email at kreweofjapanpodcast@gmail.com. That's KREWEOFJAPANPODCAST@gmail.com. Let us know how you're enjoying this season, or if you have ideas for next season. We're kind of creeping towards the end here. Almost 75% of the way through. So we're looking for ideas. Also, speaking of feedback, if you're enjoying what you're listening to this season, this episode, please feel free to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast streaming app. Those ratings and reviews really go a long way in helping others who are interested in Japan and this type of content find the podcast. And as always, any and all support is incredibly appreciated. But that's it for today. Until next time, hona.